Welcome back to the channel. Got a little video today on the JZX100. Those of you that came along to the last video would have seen a brief introduction to this, but for those who didn't, it is a JZX100 Mark II. It is not a chaser, which means it does have a 1J, has a big hole set on it, tubular manifold, loads of cool stuff. Now, I've written some notes because I've owned this car for a little while now and actually picked it up in lockdown. During the fuel shortage, I had a Transit at the time, picked it up on the back of a Transit, drove it to my parents' house down in Southampton, and then the entire country ran out of fuel and I was locked there with a JZX on the back of a Transit for about 3 days. So there will be a few videos that I'll just pop up here, or images I'll pop up here about the backstory of this car. When I first got to know it, when I first got back home, I did have a bit of a mishap and I damaged the front bumper. That's a different front bumper actually. That one is a proper BN front. The one that I damaged was luckily a copy, so I learnt my mistake, had it repaired, sold it on, and ended up getting a BN front. After that, fixed it up, it was all looking good, had the front end painted, all that kind of stuff. Put T37s on it actually, one of my favourite wheels. They've now gone, sold them to someone else because the way the values are going, I didn't think that I could really enjoy the car on them, but now I've got Titan 7s on it. A couple other sets of wheels actually. I've got some CR Kais over there in chrome, which I really like the look of, but they're a little bit tatty, so I use those for messing about on. It is around that point that I went all in. I fitted a full BN kit, so I put the BN skirts and the BN full rear bumper on the car. I didn't get it painted. I got so excited, I just fitted it straight up to the car. Took it to a meet, and I really was excited because I was two-stepping it at a junction and it actually dropped a shim off the bucket. It flipped the shim off the side of the bucket, wedged it in the head. I was terrified because it was running on 5 cylinders and obviously you think the worst. Managed to limp it to a petrol station, service station, and called the AA. Obviously I'm sat there thinking, oh my God, I've blown the engine up. AA are asking me loads of questions about, you know, can you limp it here? Can you drive it there? Can you start it? I'm like, I really don't want to start this car. So needed recovery. Obviously with the BN kit on it, it's very, very low. So to cut a long story short, I actually spent 22 hours at that service station waiting for 1, 2, 3, I think it was 4 trucks in the end that failed to come and get me. So I got a taxi home and got my own trailer, came and picked the car up with my friend Till, who's actually German, so I don't know why he was in the country at that time. But yeah, it was like a 4 a.m., 5 a.m. recovery at the service station, which was good fun. But in order to fix the engine, obviously didn't know what the problem was at the time. I actually sold that BN kit, which is really annoying. I would love to have that now. So after the issue with the engine, I wasn't driving the car at all. It was sat waiting to be repaired. I need to get the funds to repair it. I didn't know what was wrong with it at the time, so I thought the worst. But I actually did a leak down test. I worked out the one cylinder had a valve stuck open. The valve was stuck open because a bucket was stuck in the head. So once the bucket was relieved from the head, I managed to get it running again. But during that period where the car was off the road, I actually went to Japan with Mark Riccioni, when we were both working on the Speed Hunters project, and got to go to Oi Wharf and experience what real street JZXs are like. And that blew my mind. That was so cool. That was probably one of the coolest experiences ever. Police chases, like running away, getting in random people's cars, like having to run away in a big group. It was like real life kind of Fast and Furious vibes. So that was amazing. So when I came back from Japan off that trip, I was absolutely obsessed with getting this as low as possible, trying to get it looking like those cars I'd seen at Oi Wharf. So it was standard bumpers all around, standard skirts, that kind of vibe, like indestructible JZX kind of look, which I ran like that for a while. I fixed the engine. Luckily it was just fix the bucket, timing chain, timing belt, tensioner, all the normal stuff just to service it up. And it was fixed, so got away with that. So ran it like that for a little while. Then I thought, I really wish I had that kit back. Like, really wish I had that kit back. So I've started to amass the parts. I've got a BN bonnet. I've got some Vertex side skirts and a Vertex half bumper for the rear. So, also with some wings as well. But what I'm going to show you now is the story of the mechanical stuff. So it's got bigger brakes, shortened spindles. It's got serial 9 knuckles on it. So we're going to go back to summer. So we're going to go back to summer last year. I'm going to show you me sweating and swearing at this car for, actually I think the time period is probably about 4 weeks. So let's go back. Good few jobs on today. JZX needs all of these serial 9 parts fitting. I've just done a king lead repair on the Barracuda, but we've got some really nice bits there in the JZX. These are the AK-47 serial 9 knuckles, so they'll sit on the front. We've got the shortened spindles there, and also in this box we've got some low control arms, which I don't know if they offer different power or not. Oh yeah, so the steering rods, tie rods, I think they're JZX110, slightly longer, and then these are the plus 20mm, got some bushings in there as well, so that should be straightforward hopefully. Things have got slightly out of hand in here, and I've got a JZX completely in pieces. Now this car was in storage, just chilling. I mean, ready to use at any time, to be honest. It was just, yeah, it was all good really. And the only thing that was really annoying me was the rear end wasn't quite low enough compared to the front. The way you kind of make these sit is sort of arse down, although it's not really, because the seals would be flat, but I had a little bit of rake and I just didn't really like it. So rear suspension's off. I'm going to change the springs for stiffer springs in the rear. These are, well, 8 kg basically. This is what the 8 means on there. So we're going to go up to 12s and go from 14 to 18 on the front, which will help with those extended low control arms I've got. So because you've got a longer control arm, there's more leverage on the shock absorber. So we want to go up a bit on the springs just to compensate for that. So I'll take the front dampers off as well, put it there somewhere. Fit the spindles at the same time. I've already showed you these. Fit the knuckles. So that's the front end. The rear end is just literally swap the springs over. The reason why I'm going up on the spring rates is that it's got so much grip and I can't really drive that well, so I need a bit of assistance in keeping it sideways if I want to drive it like that. So a stiffer spring rate will essentially reduce the grip level, so that will help a little bit, so that should make quite a nice difference. What I'm finding is that once it's sideways, it's really, like, feels really great, like you're in control, but the problem you've got is you just accelerate forwards so quickly. I'm going to get myself into trouble. So reduce the rear grip levels. Obviously wheels are off. That is the rear bumper. I've just tested that before going. I didn't want to send it for paint straight away. I want to check the fitment. It needs a bit of work around the number plate hole, so I'll sort that out and send that for paint. It'd be nice to get a roof spoiler for it as well at the same time, into paint, and then really I think that's most of it. So what will happen is this, it will be a half bumper and then it comes down probably around about there, so you get a nice bit of hovercraftness. The other thing is these skirts are very stock. You see they sort of rise up in the middle. So the Vertex ones are probably 10mm lower and then flat, and then you've got the BN ones which are like a slab, so not sure which ones to get just yet. It's obviously on the BN front bumper, or front half bumper, so I can do either option, because it will be a Vertex rear, then we'll go into probably, I think BN's probably the easiest, and then BN front. Interior is just the same as it always was. However, to get the rear shock absorbers off,
you have to basically disassemble the whole interior. So,
lots to do before we drive a car in London, lots to do before players. Hopefully you can make it look a bit better, drive a bit nicer, see how we get on. Welcome back. So I've managed to do a bit here and there. Springs have turned up, just giving you a bit of a situation update. So it's a mess in here, there is stuff everywhere, but I do have the big springs. So these are £700 rear springs. That's your equivalent to like a 12k. This is, I mean, that's so heavy, it's ridiculous. That's your £1,000 spring, so that is equivalent to 18k, give or take. I think it's like 17.9 or something. But yeah, quite a lot bigger than the original. So these are the rears. So the wire winding is slightly bigger. I've got one of the fronts in already with some of the fancy bits. So I was going to basically do one side, make sure everything worked properly, fits okay, before I showed you what I was doing, basically, just in case what I was doing was completely wrong. But so I need a better work light, to be fair. But so yeah, the new knuckle is in. You just have to cut the corner off of the original ball joint to fit. So there's a little bit of clearance between the boot and that now. So that's on there. Yeah, the coilover's in, as you can see. I mean, this is awful. I need to get a better light. I will work that out. Yeah, so the upper arm was seized, so I've given that a bit of a sort of lube and a bit of wiggling. That has made it better. The only thing I'm not sure of is how low to set the coilovers now, because obviously there's different springs. But yeah, we'll get it on the deck and work that out. I'll take the front lip off. The rear is accessible on the diff, you can jack it on the diff. But yeah, I just want to make sure it does go lower after all that work. Obviously the stiffer springs to make it set up higher. But yeah, the Serial 9 stuff is really nicely made, goes together really well. Comes with new hardware and stuff as well. There's also online, actually got it on my phone here actually. They give you like a torque spec. So here you go. So they give you so that's where to cut it. Put it down, I can show you. So that's where you cut it on the knuckle. So that's really useful. Love that. And also all the torque specs just there. And if you're not sure what you need to do it, they give you a full walkthrough. Obviously just went in gung-ho and worked it out. So yeah, one side's pretty much done. I'm going to put the back end back together, going to torque all of this stuff up, get the brake disc back on, get the caliper back on. That's my old stuff. So it was running with a hard race, what do they call these things? My brain has gone completely blank. Roll center adjuster. Yeah, so that's basically equivalent. So the dark as hell. So it's a little bit bigger actually, I think. Is it? No, it's about the same, maybe a couple mil. But yeah, so that's a roll center adjuster as well as the angle knuckle. I'm not running, so these were IS200. So I'm not going to run with the... Let's try it again. SD card full. So, I was saying that I'm not going to run the brake backing plates. These were our Tesla ones. They're obviously the... What's this thing? Fancy Camry ones. But I do have big brakes to go on, so I'm pretty sure later on down the line I'm going to have to get rid of them anyway to run the big brakes. So, might as well get rid of them now. So it's only a few bolts around the outside. But the most important thing is this shortened spindle. So destroy or die shortened spindles. It really is a lot shorter, so that's going to stop it knocking on the top, and it's going to ride so much nicer. So I also found out that the coilovers weren't quite set properly. The fronts, I think I was probably missing like an inch of stroke, so they're all set back up, so which is why I'm not really sure how it's going to sit. So there'll be a bit of mucking about to get that sitting properly. But yeah, I think all in all it's going to drive way nicer, so pretty excited. There's just a lot of parts and tools and things everywhere, so hopefully in the next hour or so I can start to make some decent progress. But yeah. Thought I'd just give you a quick overview on how these work, or what the principle is. But yeah, the one side on, not tracked up yet, so it's difficult to see really what the difference is. Second side's off. Can't really see in that black hole, but second side is off. So this little piece, I mentioned before, it does the job of the roll center adjustment as well, but this is where your steering arm attaches to, and that's what does the turns the hub, swivels it round basically. So you can see that when this is you can see that when this is positioned in place, it's a bit shorter. So what that means is for all of the, basically a millimetre of travel fore and aft, which is off the rack. So when you turn the steering wheel, that turns the rack, which plunges it in and out. And the further out this is, the less movement that in and out makes to the swivel. I've probably oversimplified that, but that is basically what happens. So if you think about it from being on top, the longer your lever is, the more you have to move it to get it to turn. So pretty simple. I mean, I love the way these are made, they're really cool. So build the second side up now, get it on the deck, everything's looking nice and low. I've got an alignment booked for tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, so weirdly seems to all be going to plan. Shouldn't have said that. I'm just getting ready to put the last corner back together. I mean, I don't have a lot of room to work down here, but we're doing alright. Okay, so excuse the mess. It's all built back up. Just the last thing I've got to do is remove the broken screw that I had to drill out on this one. So once that's done, I'm just going to take the nut off the back and then nut and bolt it. Once that's done, hub back on, caliper back on obviously, and then torque everything up, and then off we go. But yeah, we're getting there slowly. So, nut removed, nut and bolt it. I don't really know where to start because I can't remember where we left off. I think I said to you that I was just going to build up the second side, one corner left to do, easy peasy. That wasn't the case. I mean, this roundabout's got some marks on it, and there's a very good reason. So I thought I got it finished and all built back up, but one side to the other, one side had more lock than the other, couldn't work it out. I badgered Jake Crouch at 365, annoyed him for an evening trying to work it out. Couldn't work it out. Tried centering the rack. The rack was a little bit off, but that wasn't the problem. Tried all sorts. Then I went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, I've probably put the knuckles in the wrong way around. So pulled it all off this morning to check. Up at like 5 o'clock or something stupid. The knuckles are around the right way, but I did find out that where I'd cut the ball joint, it basically looks the same both ways. So that way or that way looks the same. The only difference is one end used to have the steering arm on it, and I put that in backwards. So my fault. My bad, cocked up, cost me like a day, but got it all back together to make my alignment slot at 8 o'clock this morning, only to get there for for them to say, it's too low, mate, we can't do it. Classic line. So, I spoke to just noticed a camera van, which I hope wasn't there earlier because I was going quite briskly. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so remember Josh had a Lexus done that was really low, so he hit that guy up. Joe at Carfellas, he got it sorted, so I'm aligned, I'm ready to go. I'm headed down to Vengerfest now. I have cracked an arch. There seems to be a lot of filler in the left-hand side front arch, which is now removed. It's free to roam this world. But you know, the car drives great. It's all tracked up okay, and gonna have some fun. But yeah, it looks like I need some wider wings and a bit of paint, which isn't the end of the world. But there you go. So there you have it, up to speed on the present day for the JZX. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm probably going to do one of these for each of the projects, not simultaneously, not back to back, so I think that could get boring. But each time we come to work on one of these cars, I will introduce it and give you a backstory so that we're all up to speed. This now needs to have the oil cooler fitted, the Defi gauges and the senders and all those sorts of things wired up. A lot of stuff to clear up in the cabin. There's a lot of wires and stuff going on in there. Also got a new seat to fit. Then of course we're onto the bodywork, which is a whole new story by itself. A lot of fiberglass, a lot of cutting, a lot of filling, a lot of repairs, a lot of fitting up. I think the bonnet is going to be a complete nightmare, but let's see. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.